Imagine, for a second, that you are dealing with a terrible, completely unexplainable migraine. Not just a mild headache, but, the kind of deep throbbing pain that just paralyzes your entire day.
Right, the kind you can't just sleep off.
Exactly. Or maybe it's not even physical. Maybe you're caught in this string of incredibly bad luck that just defies all logic. Like you can't find a job, your relationships are fracturing, you literally can't sleep, and your chest just feels constantly, inexplicably heavy.
Yeah, that sense of just being weighed down by something you can't see.
Right. So now imagine trying to cure that ailment, not by going to a pharmacy and picking up a prescription, but by opening your laptop and pressing play on a 10-hour audio track of recited ancient scripture.
I mean, it is a radical departure from how most of us in the modern world are conditioned to approach our own suffering. We are so entrenched in the clinical, the tangible. If you present a physical or emotional symptom, the instinct is to just isolate the chemical cause and apply a chemical solution.
Because today we are looking at the digital evolution of Ruqyah, an ancient Islamic practice of exorcism and spiritual healing. We have a huge stack of sources today, including detailed Q&A consultations from spiritual advisors and digital directories.
Yeah, it's wild seeing how these 1,400-year-old prayers are turning up as massive 10-hour streaming loops on digital platforms.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are going to explore the mechanics of how listening to an MP3 is actually supposed to cure a spiritual or physical affliction. We are looking at the intense physical reactions people report having to these audio files. And because we're talking about deeply vulnerable people searching for a cure, we have to look at how to spot a spiritual scammer in a space where the unseen is easily exploited.
That vulnerability is really the crux of the issue here. When people are dealing with chronic, unseen pain or a sudden collapse of their personal life, they look for answers anywhere they can find them.
Of course they do.
So the intersection of those ancient healing traditions with modern digital distribution creates an incredibly unique landscape.
So let's dive into this digital phenomenon. Looking at the sources, there are these vast online libraries, platforms like Ruqyah TV. They're essentially massive spiritual pharmacies. But instead of pills, they are cataloging audio files.
Right, endless playlists.
And the scale of this is wild. Like I'm looking at tracks where a single chapter of the Quran, like Surah Al-Waqiah, is repeated 80 times, running for 10 straight hours. Or Surah Al-Fatiha on a loop for 100 times.
Well, the duration alone tells you this is not meant to be, passive background noise while you do the dishes.
Yeah, you're not putting it on while you fold laundry.
Exactly. Surah Al-Waqiah, for instance, is traditionally associated with sustenance and warding off financial ruin or poverty. Surah Al-Fatiha is the opening chapter of the Quran, literally referred to in the tradition as the cure. So putting these on a 10-hour loop is intended to be an intensive, immersive spiritual regimen.
Wait, hold on, though. A 10-hour MP3 file. If the belief system we are exploring says that a person is being attacked by profound spiritual ailments, things like the evil eye, malicious envy, demonic possession, or even dark magic, how does an automated file running on a smartphone do anything to stop that?
It's a fair question.
Like the phone doesn't have a soul, it's just a speaker vibrating. Isn't listening to an audio track basically like watching a workout video on your couch versus actually having a personal trainer right in front of you?
What's fascinating here is that the religious scholars in our sources actually agree with your skepticism up to a point. They acknowledge a significant difference between a live human healer and a recorded audio track.
Okay, so they do see a difference.
Yeah, but the difference isn't about the acoustics of the words being played. It is entirely about intention and spiritual presence.
Meaning the smartphone doesn't actually care if you get better.
Exactly. It has no empathy, no spiritual focus, and no intention.
Mm.
And because of that, the scholars note a psychological friction, like the listener's heart often pays less attention to a recording.
That makes sense.
Right, because when you sit in a room with a sincere live practitioner, you witness their physical effort. You feel their dedication to your healing, and that energy demands your presence in a way an MP3 simply cannot.
But the sources still say the audio tracks can cure you. If the phone is soulless, how was the cure actually activated?
According to the texts, the ultimate efficacy of the healing doesn't rely on the physical presence of a healer at all. The core engine of this entire practice relies on a concept called yaqeen.
Yaqeen.
Yeah, that translates to absolute, unwavering certainty. To illustrate how this mechanism works, the sources reference a famous historical account from the time of the Prophet Muhammad. One of his companions came across a man who had just been stung by a scorpion.
Wait, a scorpion sting is a venomous, acute medical crisis. Your nervous system is shutting down.
A literal life or death emergency.
Mhm.
But the companion didn't search for an antidote or apply a tourniquet. He recited Surah Al-Fatiha 7 times and spat on the wound.
Oh, wow.
And the texts report that the man stood up immediately, completely cured, as if released from chains.
Just from speaking the words.
The scholars use this specific story to explain the mechanics of the cure. The healing agent isn't merely the phonetic pronunciation of the Arabic syllables. Think of the recited words like the light from a standard light bulb. It illuminates, it has presence.
Right.
But yakin, that absolute conviction that God is the ultimate healer, acts like a lens that focuses that scattered light into a high-powered laser.
Ah, I see.
The laser is what actually cuts through the affliction. So the sources claim that if the listener sitting in their living room possesses that level of laser-focused certainty, pressing play on a digital device works. The power is generated by your heart's readiness to receive the cure, not the medium delivering the sound waves.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because engaging with these digital tracks isn't just about pressing play, sitting back, and hoping you have enough certainty. The sources outline a deeply interactive, almost clinical methodology for how to use these files at home. They refer to it as a pen-and-paper diagnostic method.
Yeah, this represents a massive shift from passive listening to becoming an active participant in your own diagnosis.
Right. The instructions tell the listener to sit down at a table with a notepad and a pen, press play on the Ruqyah audio compilation, and closely monitor their own body for physical reactions. You are supposed to write down the exact timestamp and the specific verse that triggers a physical response.
You are essentially turning your own nervous system into a biofeedback machine.
And the reactions listed in the sources are intensely physical. Listeners report a sudden, unexplainable spike in body temperature, or a cold numbness that slowly creeps up their arms or legs. In some cases, it's an overwhelming wave of just inexplicable terror that hits them out of nowhere.
If we look at the mechanics of why this happens according to the belief system, it is quite profound.
Yeah, how do they explain that?
Well, the underlying premise is that an unseen affliction, whether it is a spirit or the toxic energy of the evil eye, has attached itself to the physical body. When the listener plays a specific divine frequency, say, a verse that historically condemns sorcery or a verse detailing the majesty of God, that unseen entity or energy reacts violently to it.
Wow, okay.
And that violent spiritual reaction bleeds over into the physical host, causing the sudden heat, the numbness, or the panic.
It is like an allergy test, but you are testing your soul to see what it is allergic to.
That's a very apt way to look at it. And this raises an important question, right? What do you do with the notes on your notepad? The sources explain that these physical reactions give you a highly targeted diagnosis.
So you know what you're dealing with.
Exactly. Let's say you are listening to a general 2-hour Ruqyah compilation. The reciter transitions into a series of verses specifically associated with breaking dark magic.